Hello. No one's here. Hello, hello. All right, you're awake. Good. So, video, that's my thing. Now, if those of you who are into social media, there's the social media stuff. Be sure to take a photo, it'll last longer. One thing I want to highlight at the start of this is that Premiere Pro just turned 25 this year. That's a pretty big deal for software. Software doesn't really last that long. So we ended up working with our marketing team in the States, and we worked with Imagine Dragons to come up with a competition we called Make the Cut. And what we did was we got access to unrestricted, raw footage from the music video, Believer, which was a smash hit for them. And we launched this in March. There was 25 days for people to submit an edit for the music video, so they could make their own version of it. We thought we'd get about 3,000 people maybe around the world. We ended up having 9,000 entrants. It was kind of crazy. But it was amazing to see that there were so many people out there that wanted to use our tools. And out of 28 countries that handed in submissions, we worked out that 60% of the people that had entered were under 25. So it was kind of interesting to see how many people are getting into video now. Experiences matter more than ever. Brand, brand, brand. How do you get attention? How do you capture attention? You've just seen some people talking before, and I'm sure the video stuff really engaged you. That's kind of how our brains work. We look for things that move, and we look for light and color. So video is a huge part of a transmedia campaign these days. So marketers really have to think about video. 80% of the people that try Premiere Pro, when they download it the first time, we have a little questionnaire saying, oh, what skill level do you think you're at? And we have a few questions there. And 80% of these people have said that they are professional creatives, but they're new to video. So that's interesting to us. We're seeing a lot of designers have to pick up some video work while they're doing other content as well. And we see that trend continuing on. Nicola Mendelsohn, who's a vice president for Facebook, the EMEA branch, the European branch, was interviewed recently, and she said, if I was having a bet, it'd be video, video, video. The best way to tell stories in the world, where so much information is coming at us, is actually video. And that's because there's so much information that goes on when you're watching someone talk. I'm using my hands, I've got facial expressions, I've got different tone in my voice. All that comes through in video. It doesn't translate in any other medium. And her quote is being backed up by statistics. Cisco have predicted that by 2020, 80% of all mobile data traffic will be video-based content. That's huge. And Facebook have released in 2016 some statistics that show they have 8 billion views per day, accumulating to be about 100 million hours of content viewed per day. And that trend is only growing. You can see they're all investing in video. So VR, we mentioned before, there's ultra high definition, different resolutions, and then we got HDR. How many of you have ever heard of HDR as a term? Any hands? There's a few. Actually, there's quite a bit more than I thought. It's about a third of the room. So HDR is high dynamic range, and combined with ultra high definition, better resolutions, we start to remove this screen, and it starts to have such a high quality that we're kind of looking through a window. And with the high dynamic range, we get more color and more brightness. So this is starting to change the barrier of what we're looking at, and it creates new potential for VR experiences where you do need something like 8K to have an amazing, in-depth, immersive experience. So all these changes are happening, and we're working with technology providers to work with those new content experiences. So I just want to mention quickly that we did make an acquisition recently. If any of you have been paying attention to some of our blogs, you may have seen this. Skybox is a plugin provided by a company called Metal, and we made an acquisition and bought their 360 VR plugins. So they have transitions and they have other effects that work with this warping of the picture. You can see behind me there's a picture of an equirectangular stitched image, and that is a flattened out unwrap of a globe. And so our effects were not designed to do that, so someone made them and we acquired them. So watch this space, because the guy, Chris Bobotis, who owns that company, is now part of the Adobe team, and he's the director of immersive at Adobe. So I'm sure you'll see a lot more coming out of Adobe and VR. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into some demos. I think this might be the first demo for the day, is that right? Yeah? Okay. All right, let's see how I go over here. Now, there's so much stuff that I would like to show you, but I just don't have the time. So I'm just going to jump straight into something here called Character Animator. Has anyone played with this before? It's been around a little while. Yeah? A few people? Now, this is a safe space. If you like something and you want to say yeah or woo or clap, feel free to do that, okay? Because then I can tell, hey, oh, there you go. All right, so this, as you can see, this is following my head. Now, it's using the camera on my laptop here in order to do facial tracking. So it's looking at my face, it's looking at my eyebrows, my eyes. I've got glasses on, it's still seeing my pupils. It's pretty cool. Now, this tool has been around a little while in beta, but what I wanted to show you is how now we can have a live feed running out. So I'm using OBS. I'm sure some of you out there have seen this software before. It's the software that you use to do streaming on Facebook Live or YouTube Live or Twitch or something like that. But we're able to use a plugin from another provider that will stitch this in, and you can conduct a live interview with an animated character. Pretty cool. Now with the, there was a clap. There you go, a few more. So we've been working quietly with a few different content makers, such as The Late Show, the Steve Colbert Late Show, and they've been doing this for a while, so they were part of our development process. And there's animated Donald Trump, and there's other characters that they've made over the years, and that's us, that's what this is. So they've been using that. Now, I've gone and pre-recorded some audio. Now, I'm hoping the audio is hooked up here, where I put the audio in here. Let's just make this full screen again. I might just close that off. And I went into the timeline, and I asked it to compute the lip sync from the scene audio. So this is what I got back.
Honky tonk. Going down a mountain in a little boat. Don't need that paddle.
All right, so there's a bit more there. Thank you. So what's cool about another little thing that's new is that inside of something like Premiere Pro or After Effects, I'm able to take what we call the scene, which is what I've just played back then, from Character Animator and drag and drop that into Premiere Pro or After Effects. So I'm clicking and holding down and just flipping my applications. I let go of the mouse and it will drop it inside of my project. Hopefully. Did it drop in? Let's try this again, hang on. Grab the scene, flip it over, drop it in here. It's probably dropped in somewhere, there we go. So that's now sitting in there, and now I can use this as an asset. So if I hit play.
Honky tonk.
Right? So we can start working kind of without having to render stuff out. And this is kind of a pathway that we're starting to put in, so when it gets out of beta, it's ready to do something like this. But it works really, really cool. So I can drop this on top of this footage here, and I have the transparency layer, all the rest of it comes through, and it's live. Okay? So this is kind of cool. All right, I need to move on because we've got a lot of things to show, and I want to make sure that I get through all the cool stuff. Now, we changed in our latest version of Premiere Pro, the latest update, we changed our text engine. So now you can just take the text engine tool, or the text tool from the toolbar, click on the interface of where you want to type, and just type away. Now this is a new engine that is compatible with sending this over to, say, After Effects, where before the text engine that we had wasn't quite compatible, so we've fixed it. It's still in there though, the old one, so don't panic. For those of you who can't find it, it's under New and Legacy Title. Now, what's interesting about this particular new engine is that you can go in and start to animate components to it and then make what we call an essential graphics template. So I've, like any good cooking show, prepared one earlier. Okay, so I've got some animation in there. Now that's all wrapped inside one little element that sits on one track, and then I can share this out. Now, I need a volunteer, this gentleman here at the front. What's your name, mate? Chris. Okay, so let's go in and change the title to Chris. So I'm going to change my view here to, let's see, I want to go into the essential graphics. And under edit, I can see here I've got description and name. So with the name, let's just dump in here and type in, if I can spell Chris. Chris, that's not how it's spelled, I'm sure, but that's all right, you'll forgive me. Okay, so the animation's there and I'm able to do things and make changes to the text. Now what I'm going to do is actually ask this to export as a motion graphics template, and we'll use this a bit later. And I'm going to add this into my library. So I'm using CC services, I'm using the libraries, which I can have other people shared to the libraries and they get a copy of this as well. So I'm going to add this to my one called Mogit's Demo, and that's all being pushed up into the cloud, and we'll see that again later on. Now, another thing that's kind of cool about doing this type of change that you see in the Essential Graphics panel is that we can have things that come from After Effects. So really highly designed content that is using some pretty cool things, and there's quite a few different styles and things embedded inside of it. We used to ask people that were editing to jump in and out of After Effects to make changes, but now we've added tools that allow the editor to just drag some sliders around and it looks and feels completely different. And they don't have to leave Premiere Pro. So that is something that a lot of editors are loving. And we are seeking people that know how to make these to put them on Adobe stock, so you can maybe get a bit of cash for making these. So let's have a look. I've got something here, it's called episode 1, okay. So there's basic things in a TV series where you just go, well, we need to change the episode, so we'll just drag that over, and now it says episode 7. Okay, I just made that change really quickly. The graphics in the back, so let's have a look here. We'll change the background, poof, the background's changed. This is really, really big deal stuff. So how does this work? Let me just show you inside of After Effects how this type of stuff works. Now, this is the one that we were using before, but I'm going to use one that I've just made up myself. So here's a little basic thing, okay? Very similar to what we had before, but there's some other elements in there that I want to be able to change, such as the color and whatnot. So let's select it, right-click on it, and open this in the Essential Graphics panel. Now, this Essential Graphics panel is where you drag and drop the asset elements of what you want the editor to be able to change. So if you're the motion graphics designer, you don't give them control over everything. You give them control over certain things. So in here, the color, let's say, let's have a look here. I've got the name color, which I can see down here is actually an effect for fill color for that layer of text. And the way that this works, if I was to select this and delete it, you select the color and then you drag it into the stack, and then you're pretty much building it like this. Now, not everything that we have in here can be added and dragged in like this. So we have this button here called the Solo Supported Properties button. That button means that when you hit that button, you're only shown in the timeline the elements that will actually be able to be dragged in. So you're not sitting there getting frustrated something is not going in. This is version 1 of this. We're still developing it. There's still more to come, but it's certainly something that we see a lot of excitement around. So I'll export this one out as well, and that's okay. That's okay. Now, I'll use a different area to sort of highlight where we can save this. So again, I can put this in another library and have someone else that's shared to it make use of this. But I can also send this to a local drive location. So it's an actual file I can push around and I can give to people. Now the beauty of this is when you give it to an editor, it's locked. That's it. They can't open it and change it. They can't screw up your design. So if you're excited about that, let me know. And if you aren't in the room, well, there you go. If you're online and you're watching, be sure to, send some posts. All right, I'll stick this on the safest place you can put anything on your computer, which will be the desktop. Okay, very good. And that's sent off. All right, now, moving on. Oh no, let's go back and I'll show you how this all sort of is stitched in there. So I have gone and made this before. It's under Browse My Libraries. It's under the Mogets thing, and this is the template that I made before, and this is the one that I'd made. Oh, you know what? I didn't even save it in there. Oh, that's all right. You get the idea. Okay, something that, oh, here we go. So this is that voiceover that I had before. It's actually for this little social campaign. So I've got a square shape, Instagram style design going on, and I've got some other bits and pieces. So this is actually the template of what I used before. And I've got this great kind of content, and I've got this great voiceover.
Honky tonk. Going down a mountain in a little boat. Don't need that paddle.
Okay, so now it makes sense, right? So what's missing? The music. We need some music. We need something to help drive it. So this has been around a little while, but I really wanted to highlight this for our creative users out there. Inside of the video tools, we have these partner panels, and they're called add-ons. And they go through this extensions option, and then we can hook into other providers, such as in this case, the Audio Network, which is a music provider, and their website shows up as a panel inside of Premiere Pro, so I don't actually need to leave Premiere Pro. And I can start to look for content in here as well, use their search engine. And then I can ask it to drop it down into my assets. I'll get an MP3 if I like it, then I can purchase it. It's all, the rights are part of that purchase, and I get a high quality waveform file. And that all happens very, very easily and quickly. You can even control the sound as you're sampling the content. So let's see, let's look for some uplifting hip hop and hit play. This is probably going to... Just turn that down. Get this woman a sticker or something. So what we've got here is, right, we're access to see it and hear it, and then we can put it into the context of what we've got. So I've gone and done this, and I've done a little mix for it as well. So let me just swap those out, and this is with the mix.
Going down a mountain in a little boat. Don't need that paddle. Just gonna duck in behind the bushes. Just get him.
I think he's off to the loo. So I got this honky-tonk kind of sound and I put it in. So this panel is going to save a lot of time. Now the other thing I want to put in here is something we have got called Essential Sound. Now this is really cool because what we get to do, if I click on here, you'll not hear the audio from this woman particularly loud. So, did you see her lips move? She actually says thank you, but you can't hear it. There's other people talking. So she's too soft, so we need to fix this. How do we fix this quickly? If I select all of the audio tracks that are dialogue tracks and go to the Essential Sound panel and tell this to be dialogue, so let's clear the audio type, and we say this is dialogue. So in here now I've been given some tools, some sliders, simple stuff for editors to deal with, to do something like just auto match the loudness. Click, done. So let's listen to what it sounds like now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cheers.
So that just, yeah, really cool. Now, what's awesome about this is you can start to do different things. You got atmosphere, you got a bunch of different options in here for different types of audio tracks to help build the richness of the audio. And you can actually send this back to a proper audio person into Audition, and we will transfer those filters to the clips. So we're not actually destroying anything, and there's sliders and real detailed stuff for a real audio engineer to get in and play with it. Now, I'm just out of time here, so I will not push that over, but all those effects are actually filters, and they do show up inside of Audition. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you is actually on this machine here. See if we can switch that over. Now, this is a demo of Team Projects. Now, if you're on Creative Cloud for Teams or Creative Cloud for Enterprise, you do have access to this service. If you're on Creative Cloud for Individual, sorry, service is not there. But I'll show you what it does. It's very, very cool. So it means people can collaborate. So let me just shut this one down. And that. And start to show in here. I've got this basic edit going on. There's not too many things happening. I've created a shared location for putting in some other bits and pieces. So backstage, I was recording some video with Stod. Right, so we've just made a change to this edit, and I can send this back and open it up as a different user somewhere else. So I'll just open this bit here. So then when I switch back, you'll see that it all changes. Okay, so this is one that I've changed. I will send the change out with this little button here. I'll just hit OK when it comes up. Okay, so we share that. And then I'll go back to this other computer here. Oh, I just got a notification that someone else made a change to this edit. This is pretty cool. I've also now got this little button down here that I can get the changes. So I could be in two different locations or have different people working, collaborating, and now on this machine, I have that footage sitting inside an edit on this machine. Kind of cool. I think it's pretty awesome. Okay, so I'm wrapping up. At the end of the day, if you're making great videos, they equate to standout experiences. If you have any questions around any of how this gets put together, please come and see me at the pavilion. Nearly forgot that. Thank you, and I'll see you at the pavilion.